but there is a mental health aspect to this conversation as well, and we want to talk about that and prevention with our next table. Let me do some introductions. First, Daryl Hudson, welcome back to the program from Washington University. You deal with public health issues and you're teaching students there. Also, Nicole Dawsey, Associate Director of Prevention Services at the National Council of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. And welcome back in person in the studio this time, CJ Strom from Bridgeway Behavioral Health. So we've talked about the what, let's talk about the why. Why do you think people are turning to prescription drugs in this manner?
Well, we were talking about it before we came on, and there's no one magic answer, and that's the unfortunate part of it. I think the previous panel, as well as Professor Hale, mentioned the accessibility of it as well. So I think that's a key piece. I think also just culturally, you hear a lot of references nowadays in popular music that talks about use of over-the-counter drugs to get people high, and I think that's influencing peers as well.
We just learned about this week. I'm out of touch, but cough syrup and
cough syrup, promethazine and codeine, and a number of artists have passed away from overdose from those drugs.
We know that there are a myriad of reasons why people use substances, and one of those is certainly to self-medicate or to cope. And so part of what we do at NCADA in terms of prevention is we do resiliency skill programming, starting at kindergarten, going all the way up through college age. Essentially, life stinks sometimes, and when people don't know how to cope, then sometimes they're faced with the decision of how to get through life. And so by starting young and instilling skills like anger management, problem solving, setting goals, feeling good about yourself, that's a way that I firmly believe that we can avoid some of these issues in the future.
Absolutely, and I think when you talk about it from the perspective of prevention, when you then turn it into something like addiction, when a person begins to abuse opiate drugs, what you have is tolerance building that happens very quickly. So what starts as a coping skill that might operate as a way for somebody to deal with a problem that they otherwise wouldn't know how to deal with, within a very short span of time with opiate medication, you're talking about tolerance building. And once that occurs and the physical dependency is there, they begin to strike criteria for addiction. And at that point, treatment becomes more and more necessary the further they continue to go down that road.
So the coping is now a problem in and of itself?
Absolutely it is.
Correct.
Okay, so does mental health play into this in terms of access to care and other issues surrounding mental health? What do you see there?
Sure, I think it's related in a major way because a lot of mental health problems have stigma attached to them. A lot of people don't recognize the symptom of, say, depression or anxiety. So if you know that there's something that makes you feel good, if your friends use it, it's effective to you, you can very easily become self-medicating and cope with whatever mental health issue that you might be dealing with.
As it relates to mental health, I will say that at least in our adult population, 7 out of 10 of our clients have co-occurring disorders. And in the adolescents, we're seeing a number, it hovers around 70%, but can go as high as 80% of comorbidity that is related to substance abuse.
Is this problem getting worse? We said it was off the top of the show. Do you see that in your experience?
Yes.
I would say.
Yes.
I would say. And oftentimes, it's certainly the topic tonight is prescription drug abuse. Most of the time, however, kids, adults are beginning with other substances. Alcohol is the #1 drug of choice, followed by cigarettes or smokeless tobacco, followed by marijuana. And so once something is seen as accessible, no big deal, we don't like pain as a society, we want to somehow escape, then we'll turn to whatever's available. And unfortunately, we're seeing, because of many times people prescribing and over-prescribing different medications, and it's available, then that's what kids are turning to.
And I think what we see a lot of times too is they'll take different prescription medications and mix them.
Correct.
So a lot of times what you'll see is a person who will use an opiate medication with a benzodiazepine,
yes,
such as Xanax or potentially Ativan. The complications with the mixing of the medication is very complicated too. When kids do what's known as farming, what they'll do is collect a bunch of medication, put it together, and then they just take the pills unbeknownst to them of exactly what it is they're taking. So what happens, at least in our experience at Bridgeway, is these folks come in through the system with a lot of different problems, and 8 out of 10 people that come to us are criminally justice motivated based upon criminal activity.
Right.
So the use of these drugs exacerbates criminal behavior. So one of the things that we try and do is to treat it holistically around a lot of the problem sets that they have. One of the real nice things in St. Louis County now is the Children's Service Fund. You had mentioned the ACA earlier. The Children's Service Fund offers essentially, at no further cost to the citizens of St. Louis County, free treatment services. And a lot of the kids that we're seeing come in, I asked in a treatment group earlier today, how many of those kids had that issue? And every single one of those kids raised their hands for abusing prescription medication.
And we know a lot of other funders are starting to pay attention to this and have been for a while. Certainly Children's Service Fund, there are similar organizations set up in St. Louis City and in St. Charles County. It's amazing that we're having this evening so that we can really start to focus on this.
Anything else? Because that's where I wanted to take it next, was what do we do about it? What else?
I can speak for us. I know that, as I said before, we start at age kindergarten. Age appropriate, of course. We talk about medicine safety. If you see something sitting on a counter and you don't know what it is, leave it alone. We'll even have the kids repeat after us. Leave it alone. You know, we do certain things, certain activities to say that candies and medicines look very similar. You don't know what you're messing with, so leave it alone. As we get older and older, then we talk about some peer refusal skills, how to stay away from it, and not kind of the cheesy, you know, just say no, but, you know, no thanks, or yeah, right, I'd actually like to live. You know, some things like that. And then as the kids get older and older, then we really look at some of the serious health effects. And hey, this is gonna mess with your brain chemistry. You have a long life to live. You need your brain, so you really don't wanna mess it up.